Time now for Stanley's Stinkers, the only show that uses reverse prognostication to predict the losers in college football's biggest games. With this week's losers, here he is, Stanley Reese.
Hello again, and thanks for joining us. The 2013 college football season is coming to a dramatic end with a handful of bowl games scheduled over the next few weeks. The season was good to some and bad for others. For us, it was just fun. Stanley Stinkers will finish the year with a 79% success rate, which is not bad considering the fact that we never back down from the tough contest. We use reverse prognostication to predict the losers in college football's biggest games. With that said, here are the games we'll be watching this week. Nebraska and Georgia in the Gator Bowl. Before the season started, both programs expected a much higher finish, but injuries to key players kept the teams off the BCS board. For the Shuckers, their touted TD maker Taylor Martinez was sidelined most of the year, while for the Dogs, it was pretty much their whole offense. This game could provide a peek into the future, or it could be a reminder of the season past. Stanley Stinker, Nebraska. Iowa and LSU in the Outback Bowl. The Bayou Bengals might not be playing in the championship game, but they do have the distinction of being the only team to beat one of the title contenders. Way back in September, Les Miles laid a lick on the Gus Bus, causing a small detour for Auburn. But Iowa has some bragging rights as well. Their defense is ranked near the top in yards and points allowed. This one could be a low-scoring game, but in the end, Stanley Stinker, Iowa. Georgia Tech and Ole Miss in the Music City Bowl. While the Resurgence and the Buzzers meet up in Nashville for what some may say is a going-away party for Tech coach Paul Johnson. After a noteworthy season in 2009, the run-oriented coach is averaging just 7 wins per season, and the Rambling Wreck faithful are more like the Grumbling Wreck. If Johnson can push past the Ole Miss defense, his options may be many. If not, it could be time to make that pitch. Stanley Stinker, Georgia Tech. Well, it's time for a quick break, but on the other side, we've got the Leprechauns in pinstripes, the Land Thieves in the Big Easy, and, of course, the Gus Bus riding into Pasadena. Stay with us.
I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to buy the world a coat and keep it company. That's the song I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to buy the world a coat.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Rutgers and Notre Dame in the Pinstripe Bowl. After playing last year in the national championship game, the Leprechauns' luck gave out on the way to a 4-loss season. But a game at Yankee Stadium is still a pretty good gig, especially if you're playing against a Rutgers team that's dropped 5 of their last 7 games. If trouble tosser Tommy Rees is on top of his game, Notre Dame could have a big time in the Bronx. If not, well, there's always something going on in Times Square. Stanley Stinker, Rutgers. Wisconsin and South Carolina in the Capital One Bowl. There are not too many similarities between these two teams, except for the fact, of course, that they both play college football. The fearsome Fowl have a quarterback who has proven to be as tough as he is efficient, while the timid Tumblers rely on a tandem of rushers to roll up their points. But if the old ball coach studies the Badgers' last game, he could find a template to limit the Wisconsin run game. If he can do that, Connor Shaw will make some good memories in Orlando. Stanley Stinker, Wisconsin. Oklahoma State and Missouri in the Cotton Bowl. After a shootout in the SEC championship game, the Striped Cats from Mizzou are happy to take their game back to more familiar territory. As a former conference foe with OK State, Missouri may find some common ground in Dallas, but if the Pokes can settle on a quarterback, they could take advantage of a weaker than normal pass defense from their opponents. Win or lose, it's a family reunion of sorts. The question is, who starts the first fight? Stanley Stinker, Missouri. Stanford and Michigan State in the Rose Bowl. The Green Soldiers would be world beaters in their last game, handing Urban Meyer their first loss of the season. Now they just have to chop down a tree. But that tree just happens to be the mascot for Stanford, and it's just about immovable. Just a few points keep the Tree Farmers from an undefeated season, and in this de facto home game, it might take more than the Spartan sword to bring down this team. Stanley Stinker, Michigan State. Well, still ahead, we've got the Tree Nuts and a bowl of oranges, a bowl game in Birmingham, Alabama, and of course, the last ever BCS title game. Those games and more coming up.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't seen your lap in months. And even more stuff. But still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a
I
cold
want to be
day.
a football
I want to be
stadium.
a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Alabama and Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl. 1 second is all that stands between the Crimson Pachyderms and a missed chance to defend their national title. And the hardest task Bama coach Nick Saban has now is to get his team over that heartbreak. With the Land Thieves waiting in the Big Easy, it should be business as usual. But Oklahoma would like nothing more than to hand Alabama their second straight loss. Two high-powered traditions in a well-renowned setting. Whoa, Nelly. Stanley Stinker, Oklahoma. Clemson and Ohio State in the Orange Bowl. The Tree Nuts' grand scheme to play in the national title game fell one win short this year, but they can still prove a lot to their fans by bringing home another trophy from Miami. But the Carolina Kittens have their own plans. If senior quarterback Taj Boyd recovers from his last outing against the Gamecocks, in which he threw 2 picks, Clemson might have a chance. If Ohio State's stingy rush defense stops the Tiger run game, it'll be all up to Boyd. His last game in orange and regalia should be memorable. Stanley Stinker, Ohio State. Florida State at Auburn in the BCS championship game. The Southeastern Conference has won 7 straight national titles. If that streak is to continue, the Gus Bus will have to drive straight through the River Chiefs without stopping. For Auburn, their offense has steadily improved all year, so much so that they set new records in the conference title game. FSU, on the other hand, has been solid on offense and defense, ranking in the top 10 in almost every stat. Unfortunately, most of those stats came against ACC opponents, or worse yet, losing opponents from lesser leagues. Even with a loss, Auburn may have been battle-tested and could be poised to bring home the BCS title one last time for the SEC. This one should be close, but Auburn has been blessed in close games. Stanley Stinker, Florida State. While we are at it, here are a few more bowl games we'll be watching. Louisville will be stormed by Miami. Virginia Tech will be pawed by UCLA. Kansas State will lose to Michigan. UNLV will be mowed by North Texas. Middle Tennessee State will be sunk by Navy. Texas will be gnawed by Oregon. Texas Tech will fall to Arizona State. North Carolina will be scratched by Cincinnati. Rice will be boiled by Mississippi State. Duke will be outmanned by Texas A&M. Arkansas State will be tamed by Ball State. Boston College will be grounded by Arizona. UCF will be bitten by Baylor. And in Birmingham, Alabama, the Houston Cougars will be torpedoed by the Vanderbilt Commodores. Stanley Stinkers is a production of GMD Sports. It's intended for entertainment only. Any rebroadcast or republication without the express written permission of me, Stanley Reese, is encouraged. Join us again in the fall of 2014 for Stanley's Stinkers. It's the only show in America that uses reverse prognostication to predict the losers in college football's biggest game.